The Sphinx Riddles make for some of the toughest challenges Dragon's Dogma 2 can throw at you. Less to do with pure combat ability, as they are to do with thinking on your feet and sometimes just sheer power of will forcing your way through a seemingly impossible task. And as the game can be pretty unforgiving, one wrong move with the Sphinx can instantly end your chances of earning those sweet, sweet rewards. To spare you the misery, of which I've had to endure plenty, I have the solutions to all of her riddles with details on how you can most easily solve them. I'll also take you through a couple of mistakes I made so you don't make the same ones I did. So, if you hope to conquer one of the toughest challenges in Dragon's Dogma 2, like this video, and let's get into what you need to do. So let's start from the beginning by finding the Sphinx in the first place. The first location you'll find it is in the Mountain Shrine, which is located northeast of the checkpoint Rest Town. To get there, take the ox cart from Vermouth if you're there, and once you're in town, head north and then take the lower road that'll be on your left. This leads to an area where a dragon is having a fight with a Cyclops, but if you stick to the cliff on the left hand side, you can avoid it and head straight into the fortress through the Dark Gate. You'll need to make your way through this fortress, and it is very dark, so you're going to want to use your lantern where you can. Take the ladder at the back of this area and go up the stairs where you'll encounter a sleeping Cyclops. Fight it if you like, or you can run to the ladder on the left and avoid it entirely, but after climbing the ladder you'll need to make your way through World's End Cavern. The cavern contains some enemies, but you can either fight or run through it. I ran for the most part, especially from the phantoms, but this campfire can be useful if you need a pit stop, so taking down the bandits around it is usually worth it. Follow the cave to the end and you'll exit into an area with a stone golem, but pro tip, you do not have to fight this gargantuan pain in the ass. You can run around it and through this door where it can't chase you any further, and then you only need to head up the stairs to be met with the Sphinx. When you meet the Sphinx here, she'll have 5 riddles for you to tackle. You can choose which one to solve first, but you have the choice of tackling them in any order you like, but this is the order I would recommend doing them in. First up, the Riddle of Eyes. The Sphinx tasks you with entering a nearby room and returning with the most valuable item you can find. The trick here is that the item you need is fairly well hidden. As you walk in, climb the rocks to your right and up to a platform above the door and grab the sealing file in the chest here and bring it back to the Sphinx. Next up, the Riddle of Madness. For this riddle, you are tasked with bringing your beloved in front of the Sphinx. The easiest solution here is to pick up your main pawn and place them on the pedestal. Placing all of your pawns on the pedestal also works, and the Sphinx actually suggests that that might have been a safer option, but you can also bring an NPC you have a strong relationship with if you're a real glutton for punishment. Completing this riddle rewards you with a portable port crystal, which I'd recommend placing as nearby as possible because it's going to come in very handy very shortly. Next up, the Riddle of Conviction. The Sphinx asks you for your most precious item, and the implication here is that you need to be willing to sacrifice it in order to pass this challenge. The truth is, she doesn't really care. The Sphinx will accept any item you present, but you really should give her an item you value, and this is why. Not only do you not sacrifice the item, but the reward for this riddle is a duplicate of the item you presented. Very clever, risk and reward. So, if you were to present her with your newly acquired port crystal, not only would you keep it, but you'd get a second one from the chest, which is exactly what I did. So that done, onto the Riddle of Wisdom. In this riddle, the Sphinx requests a parent. Specifically, you need to go to Harve Village and interact with the Riftstone of Fellowship there. In the stone, you'll be able to recruit a special pawn known as the Sphinx Parent, or it may also be called Sphinx Father, like mine was, or Sphinx Mother. It seems to be random depending on the game. Then you just need to return to the Sphinx and present the pawn. And this is where the port crystal comes in handy, because if you placed it before leaving, you can simply use a ferry stone to return. Easy breezy. It's also worth bearing in mind that some troll players have started creating pawns and naming them Sphinx Parent, Father and Mother and placing them around that area. To be certain, check the pawn's details to see if Capcom created it, and if it was, then this is the pawn you want. Another pro tip, you can turn off network features to completely remove any player-made pawns in the game so that only the Capcom ones remain, and it's easy enough to find the Sphinx Parent there. That done, you have the Riddle of Rumination. Now this one I actually did while I was doing the Sphinx Parent one because it makes sense to try and get them both out of the way while you're out in the world, but it might be the toughest riddle of them all to solve. The Sphinx tasks you with returning to the location where you first picked up a Seeker's token, and where you'll now find a Finder's token. It's exactly what it says. You have to try and remember where you first found a Seeker's token and return there. It helped that I'd picked mine up in the capital from the fountain, so I knew exactly where it was, but if it's been ages since you picked up your first one, this can be a bit trickier. You also only have 7 in-game days to complete the task, so if you're struggling to remember it, you might want to start collecting Seeker's tokens in the early areas of the game, and you should stumble across where you first found one. Once you've completed the first 5 riddles, the Sphinx will take off and head to a new location. Now the easiest way to get there is to hop on the Sphinx's back and take the journey with her. This is a bit tricky, and it does require careful use of your stamina bar while she's flying neutral to stay attached the whole way. The final section of her flight especially is basically all upwards, so you have to cling on for dear life. But if you'd prefer to make the journey yourself, the location is called the Frontier Shrine, and it's located southwest of the checkpoint rest town. From the town, follow the river to the west until you reach a path leading south. Follow this part to reach the Frontier Shrine and meet the Sphinx for a second time. On the plus side, airdropping in is an easy way to bypass the gate at the checkpoint town as well, so you don't have to worry about getting a mask and getting the border pass. But if that is the case, like it was for me, chances are you'll be fairly underleveled for the enemies that you face, so things are going to be a little tougher on that side of the border. Oh, and a final pro tip, when the Sphinx is about to land, jump. Don't leave it too late like I did and get dropped from a great height by a dialogue prompt and have to burn your wake stone to survive. At this second location, the Sphinx will present you with 5 more riddles. The first you've just completed, as the challenge of the Riddle of Reunion was to find her new location, and with that done, we have 4 more to go. This time, you don't have to choose which riddles you want to solve in which order because the Sphinx will choose one at random. So I'll just guide you through them in the order I got them, and you can jump between them as and when you get them. First up, I had the Riddle of Futility. For this riddle, you need to bring a delicate vase to a man named Maritz. Maritz is found just north of Bak Batal near a carving of the Sphinx, but the vase is easily broken, and Bak Batal is quite far away, making for an arduous journey that will likely end in tragedy due to the sheer amount of enemies you're going to run into on the way. This is another riddle with a trick to it, as the implication is that you have to bring the vase to Maritz, when in fact you could just bring him to the vase. Leave the vase where it is and go to Maritz's location. Pick him up and use a ferry stone to return to your port crystal near the Sphinx, or you can use the ceiling file you got earlier to capture him and bring him that way. Put him down beside the vase and the puzzle will be solved. Next up, I had the Riddle of Differentiation. The Sphinx will show you a man with long red hair and a scar on his face, and if you're quick enough, you should grab a screenshot of him. Your goal here is to find this man out in the world and bring him back. The trouble is, despite the man's distinctive appearance, he is one of 2 NPCs who look very similar. The 2 NPCs are named Dante and Virgil. Nice one, Capcom, you're not fooling anyone. And they are extremely similar in appearance, but they have some distinguishing details. Dante can be found wandering around the checkpoint rest town. His hair is straight, his fringe goes to the left, he has a vertical scar over his right eye, and Virgil can be found just south of the border checkpoint, south of checkpoint rest town. He has wavy hair, his fringe goes to the right, and the scar over his right eye isn't quite as straight as Dante's is. From that, you should be able to determine which man you're looking for. Once you've met both, you can look at their profiles in the NPC logbook in the history menu and compare them, but the most obvious difference is the hair, because they go in different directions. Once you know you have the right one, bring him to the Sphinx to complete the riddle, and using the port crystal and a ferry stone is fantastic for this one. Next, we have the Riddle of Recollection. This riddle is made tricky by the fact that the order of the riddles at this stage is randomised. For this riddle, you have to pick up small statues nearby and place them on or near the pedestal, one for each riddle you've completed so far. The answer will be different for everyone depending on the order that you get your riddles, but there are 10 in total, 5 at the first location and 5 at the second. At this point, you've already finished the first 5, so you simply need to add on as many riddles as you've completed in the second. And remember that finding the Sphinx is already the first riddle at this location, so you'll already have completed 6 riddles technically, at the very least. The easiest way to work it out is look at how many chests you have left. If you have 4 chests left, you've done 6. If you have 3, you've done 7. If you have 2, you've done 8. And if you have 1, you've done 9. And finally, we have the Riddle of Contest. The Sphinx will make a soldier appear nearby and task you with defeating them in battle. However, you'll also be given an item which reduces your damage to basically nothing, and you can try to win the fight the long and boring way by just beating up on them, or you can make life easy for yourself. There is a cliff just to the right of the shrine as you're facing the Sphinx. Simply pick your opponent up, head over to the edge, and toss them over. Riddle solved, and on to the next one. So there you go, that's all the riddles solved, but you may have noticed a gigantic chest right behind the Sphinx. And you might have also noticed the key that the Sphinx is wearing around its neck. Gears are turning, and maybe you're putting 2 and 2 together. When you complete the final riddle, you get another reward, but the large chest remains sealed, and the Sphinx will get ready to leave. In order to get the key for the final chest, you will need to defeat the Sphinx in combat. Not the easiest thing to achieve, as you can see here, and not something I was able to pull off easily. She'll likely to try to flee if you attack her from the front. The mural back in Batal suggests attacking from the front is an ill-advised option, and eventually she will try and get away when you take down her health. Using your Arrow of Unmaking that you got as a reward for this very quest is very much advised and will finish the boss fight for good, giving you the key to the chest and the final Sphinx reward, the Eternal Wakestone. This item can revive many people nearby, even an entire village or city. Incredibly useful if you happen to have suffered the effects, say, of Dragon's Plague, or when you've sacrificed your entire party of pawns to try and make it to the Sphinx and back again. The Sphinx puzzles are honestly genius, making players think beyond just making it to the end of a dungeon or hitting something until it dies to get a reward. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game that isn't afraid to make you think, or at least look up guides like this when things get a little tough, and it is all the better for it. So there you go, all the Sphinx riddles and how to answer them correctly. Which one was your favourite? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this vid useful, and check out all our Dragon's Dogma 2 guides because we have plenty of them on the way. And in the meantime, YouTube is recommending a video it thinks will be absolutely perfect for you, so why not check that out here?